Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Courtney and I am glad you're here. Today I'm going to be sharing my Preptober plans and introducing my new project and hopefully sharing a little bit about my process of how I start a completely new project.
Silhouettes of you are like a taunt. Never really know just what you want.
If you don't know what NaNoWriMo is, it is essentially an event where writers attempt to write 50,000 words in the month of November. And because of that, we use October and call it Preptober to prep and plan and get ourselves ready to tackle that goal. If you're interested in participating, I will link all the information down below and also a link to my personal page so that we can be friends if you want to. Coming off of that, I will say that the NaNoWriMo website does have a wonderful resource for Preptober. If you go onto their webpage underneath the writer's resources and click on the Nano Prep button, it will come up with a 6-week course with a downloadable and printable handbook on all the things you can go through to kind of prepare yourself, and it is just kind of a good structure to follow, especially if you've never written a book or if you've never participated in NaNoWriMo. But also basically all of us who are about to attempt to do this, it is a great structure to go into it. I already have a writing habit, which is 2 of its weeks focuses. So I'm mostly going to be focused on the first 4 and I'm going to be putting my own spin on them. If you want to follow their process, check them out. It is great. I will be dabbling in it myself, but for me, I'm going to be focusing on 4 different areas that I can have my focus on that I know works well with my process and how I work and will get me actually prepared to write 50,000 words in November. I have talked about this upcoming project a little bit on this channel before, but I've never really had a logline put together for you guys. Basically, I have shared that it is a YA fantasy pirates enemies to lovers romance. But to kind of introduce it with a little bit more meat on it, I tried to put together a quick pitch just so y'all know what we're working on behind the scenes here. It's not that great, but let me just read it. So it is a YA fantasy romance about a girl who will do anything to find her missing father, even board the ship of the rebellious Lightning Prince. But when their course changes in pursuit of long-lost Thunderfade treasure using her father's research and life work, she quickly realizes she doesn't know who is manipulating who. I'm not in love with it. I don't think her character is coming through enough. Like, this girl will cut a throat to find her father, and she is manipulating this dude as a resource in an attempt to do that. I've got to figure out how to make that come across more in the pitch. That will be on the list of things to do, is to make an actual pitch that I feel like fits the project better. But that's the concept at least. So the first thing that I do when I need to start a new project and what I'm going to be doing in Preptober is learning more about my characters. I know I will have 2 main characters and I'm pretty sure that I'm set on doing a dual point of view. The first thing I'm going to do to learn more about my characters is decide on / discover whatever lie they're telling themselves. Like, what is their misbelief, what is going to be their character arc, and from there I can kind of start to add in more details. One main way I like to do this, and I've talked about this before in my screenwriting videos, is I like to write 3 to 5 scenes with these characters that are not intentionally going to make it into the book but help me just kind of discover who they are as a person. So I definitely am going to want to be writing a childhood scene, kind of where this misconception is introduced, like what happens in their childhood that makes them believe whatever lie they have imprinted on themselves that they're going to have to work through in this book. So a childhood scene for that. I love a good therapy scene. Also, one of my all-time favorite prompts is choosing an established character from a well-known book or movie that I love and having them interact with my character, because this kind of just helps you write a character you know, and you know their voice, and so you contrast that to your own character, and it really helps me kind of find my character's voice. After that, I'm definitely going to want to learn learn their Enneagram number and their MBTI, just so that I can start to dive into their psychological patterns and how they make decisions and what their kind of worldview is looking like. At some point I'm going to want to do a Pinterest board, just because I'm going to want an idea of what they look like visually. And once I do this, it's kind of like I feel like I have a good caricature of my character. And then from there, I'm going to do what I call a character recipe. I'm sure other writers do something similar to this. I just don't know if it has like an official name. I call them character recipes, where it's like I write their name. I'm not so much concerned about what they look like physically, so much as I want to identify like nervous habits, what they do when they're angry. Do they have phrases that they go to often? That way I can begin to like give them specificity, and then those things that make it into their character recipes, none of the other characters get to do those things. So if I have a character who bites her lip, none of my other characters in the book are ever going to bite their lip, because that's what she does, and it helps me establish her. And also in this, I'm kind of thinking like, how do they talk? One of them is going to be like a captain of a ship, so he's going to be using words like not shiver me timbers, but you know what I mean. I don't know why that popped into my I don't know why that popped into my brain, but like, you get it. You get what I'm trying to say. Like, there is a verbiage to a sailor, and I'm going to pick phrases that he has adopted, that only he has adopted, and then I'm going to look at my other character who I haven't quite fleshed out yet, so I don't know. But like, for example, in my last book, my character was a pig farmer, so there was a scene where they were like there was like a group of people kind of being corralled into a place. She could have used corral too, but she uses the word herded, like they herded us into blah blah blah, because she is a farmer and she herds her livestock. So like, in these character recipes, I'm really trying to dive into words, phrases, habits, things that this character does specifically, that only their character recipe would contain this ingredient of their character. I find that doing this helps me so much more than like a character sheet. I do think that character sheets are very important and are a good jumping off point, but I need to know how that translates onto the page, and that's basically what I'm establishing in like a character recipe. After I have my characters established and I understand their misbeliefs, then I know what theme I'm playing with. So from there, it's easier to plot my story because I understand the arc that we're taking. Like, this is the lie they believe, and this is what they have to overcome, and they have to look like this by the end of the book. So once that is established, I'm going to be hopping into the plot and outlining. My game plan for this book is actually to read Romancing the Beats. I will pop the author's name on the screen. I have heard she has a background in screenwriting and that it is a good companion, like, formula of beats for Blake Snyder's beats. Blake Snyder's beats is like phase 1 for me. It's like, I do my brain dump, I identify the beats, I outline my story and start to actually come up with scenes. Pretty much I'm hoping that once I read it, it's going to be a great resource in helping me plot this romance. So that's on the to-do list for Preptober. Read the book, plot the novel. Then coming off of that, I need to world build. I need to be doing a lot of research on pirates, seafaring, sailing, that type of thing. Also electricity and conduits and natural conduits of electricity. As you can tell from the blurb, I've got a lightning prince and thunder fae, and I'm thinking these two elements are going to be clashing with each other and rivals, so I need to kind of brush up on how weather works and see what I can pull from my research to kind of flesh out my magic system. I am going to be using this book for my pirate research. I am about a quarter of the way through it. Luckily, I've been obsessed with pirates since the dawn of time. Even my meet cute for this book was inspired by research I did like 10 years ago. So I'm not too worried about that aspect of it. I do want to make sure I do it justice though, because I love it so much. And then obviously a Pinterest board, because we're trying to establish vibes here. The last thing I want to be doing is searching for good comp titles. I'll pop this on the screen. I have it in Kindle format right now, but it's like the second one to Black Sands. I read the first one of these and I loved it. It does have a lot of the same ingredients that I'm going to be toying with. So it is going on the TBR. It's dual point of view, it's pirates. There is a fate element, though I think we are going to veer off into a wildly different ways of doing that. Definitely excited to read that book, and I think it's going to be a great comp title. Next is Dark Shores by Danielle Jensen. I picked this book up based on the back of the blurb. I'm pretty sure it is dual point of view as well, but it's about a sailor who does some sort of manipulation to a soldier to get them to go on a dangerous quest, which in a nutshell is a lot of the plot elements that I'm going to be exploring in my own book. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a great comp title. I did read like the first couple of pages, and with my dyslexia, sometimes the way some writers use words is so much harder for me to get through. Like the reading comprehension is just like non-existent sometimes, and this might be one of those books, but it's okay. All it means for me is that it's going to take like a lot longer to get through than like anyone else on this planet it would ever take them to get through it. But I'm gonna read this one. I think it's gonna be great. Next, I pulled out The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. This is one of my all-time favorite books from one of my all-time favorite authors. It was a true comp title for my last project. I was using it for different reasons though, mainly how she balanced a love story and murder mystery in one book. But for my current project, I did want to pull it out for its enemies to lovers and the way that she went about doing that. I probably won't actually read it again this month just because I've read it so many times. I'll just reference my notes. Once I find true comp titles, what I do is dissect the crap out of them, and I will do like chapter dissections where I'm like, not so much like what happened in this chapter, but like the meet cute happened in this chapter. The villain showed up in this chapter. The murder took place. A clue was found. Things like that. That way I can go back to it and see how other writers paced things out and structured things, so that if I have a comp title, I can kind of, in my outline, see if I'm kind of following similar pacing structures. I find that just really helps in like more aspects than just pacing, because it's essentially just dissecting how other authors tell stories, and so I take successful ones or ones that I really love and do it for myself. The last book, if you watch my last vlog, I will link it up above, is this book. Mostly just because I have to read this book like right now. I don't even know how I haven't read it. Honestly, I've just been busy. The only way that this qualifies as a comp title is that when you Google it, it's technically enemies to lovers. I don't even care that it's not a true comp title. In reality, I love the way she writes, and I love that she has developed her own singular voice, and so I find it inspirational to read. So it's always good when you're drafting to be reading good prose and reading authors that inspire you, just because it will help you keep going and it will help you strive to like find your own voice. 'Tis why it is still on the TBR. So that is what I have to get done this month. I am so excited. If you are participating in NaNoWriMo, please know that this community is huge. We are supportive. We are here for you. Connect with me on the NaNoWriMo website. Let me know in the comments if you have big plans for Preptober, or even if you have like YA, enemies to lovers, fantasy book recs bonus points if they are pirate related. If you like the contents of this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe so that you can follow along on my Preptober and NaNoWriMo journey. I am here every Friday with new videos about my writing process and journey, and good luck to everyone who is participating in the event, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!